Atma upamyena sarvatra. The one who's identifying with the fundamental, then they know how to relate to all functionally. Pujya Swami Tejomayananda shared with us, we should feel all as ourself, but not to be like ourself. Fundamentally, we are all one. Functionally, we are all different. This helps us to be more inclusive and less insistent. You know you are living a life of vision when you have less insistence in your life. Samam pashyati Arjuna. Prince Arjuna, see with equality. Live by evenness. Another way to reflect on this is for one to be trusting. Trusting. Who do you trust the most? Yourself. How does one nurture trust? It's when you're in a circle of trust. And the most dependable circle of trust for us as shishyas, as disciples, this circle is our Sadguru, our Shastra, our Bhagwan. The guide, the map, the parent are most dependable. If you trust this circle, you will start to trust all. But those who are not in this circle, it's harder for them to be trusting. Sukham vaya diva dukkham. When one is tuned into the fundamental, when one is tuned into oneness, these sorts of labels of comfortable and uncomfortable, they do not apply. When you are practicing contemplation, you are disidentifying with that which is shallow. Experiences, equipments, and so on. Practicing contemplation is your sadhana in a controlled environment. When you open your eyes and you go to the kitchen, you go to the car, you go to school, that is still your sadhana, but now spread to an uncontrolled environment. In that environment too, we should keep checking this notion of dislikes and likes. Sayogi paramo mataha. Shri Krishna is stamping these last verses. If this describes you, you are the highest yogi then. Stated by the original yogi, Yogeshwara, that is Shri Krishna. Verse 14 was the first verse that shares the process of contemplation. In the last line, last quarter, Shri Krishna shares, Yukta asita matparaha. The one who is prepared, they practice contemplation. What is contemplation? Where they feel I, Shri Krishna, am the highest, am the deepest. And now he's sharing the one who's practiced this, I am proclaiming that they are the highest, they are the deepest. There's a closure, a completion in this last line. A couple of days ago, when I was driving our children back home, Vyasa's not feeling well, so he's marginally cranky. So Shuka says to me, Pitashri, you're perfect. And I wanted to know why he said that. He must have learned that word in school today. So, Putrashri, what do you mean by perfect? And he says, because you are happy. And he followed it up with, because you're happy. And obviously he wanted something. So he's already understood my psychology. But that's what Shri Krishna is saying. The one who is perfect is the one who is joy, is the one who is me, Shri Krishna, which is the highest, which is the deepest. And now we've been trained in how to be perfect through dhyana yoga. Bhagavad Gita's chapter 6 is a transition chapter. A transition from focusing on Prince Arjuna to focusing on Shri Krishna. This chapter, the teaching is about dhyana. In English, contemplation. In practice, in brackets, changing, identification. Dhyana, contemplation, identification. Verses 1 through 9. I'm encouraging you to write this down because this chapter is that important. Verses 1 through 9, the focus is on purification. How you should be before you practice contemplation. Specifically, verses 7, 8, 9, which are teaching us how we should live with changing circumstances, changing articles, changing beings. Verses 10 through 13 are about preparation. Purification happens outside of your room. Now 10 through 13 is the preparation for contemplation. This is now happening in your room. Verse 14 is the process. This is what contemplation is. First, you have to be purified, then you have to be prepared. Now contemplate. This is not happening outside of your home. It's not happening in your room. It's happening in you. Verse 15 is perfection. When one completes contemplation, they feel complete. They feel content. That's why I shared perfection is happiness. Verses 16 and 17, Shri Krishna shifts back to purification. He's revisiting this. This is where the word yukta comes many times, with waking, sleeping, and so on. It happens outside of your room. Verses 18 to 23, Shri Krishna comes back to perfection. All verses to inspire us to make sure that our lifestyle is one of purification. Verse 24 is back to preparation. Preparation. This is happening in your room. Shri Krishna keeps swinging between what's happening in your lifestyle, what's happening in your room, what's happening in you. Purification, preparation, process. Verses 25 to 26 are about process again. So if you really want to extract what are the teachings on practicing contemplation, it is 14, 25, 26. Verses 27 to 32. These are teachings on perfection. On perfection. Summarizing all of these verses in a framework. Space, seat, sense, sentiment, surrender. Try to visualize this space. This is the purification. You are living in a disciplined way. Then your seat is like your room. You're going from lifestyle to your room. Then sense, sentiment, and surrender, that's in you. So you've gone from lifestyle to room to you. Space, seat, then sense, sentiment, surrender. The surrender is the process. All else is purification and preparation. The secret to being successful in contemplation is to be systematic. We have taken up these teachings on contemplation in a most systematic way. From understanding yoga, to the Mahabharata, to the Bhagavad Gita, to chapters 1 through 5, that is Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, now Dhyana Yoga, through purification, through preparation, through process, all for perfection. We cannot understand the purification, preparation process randomly. There are many lovely organizations and teachers who speak on different subjects. And if you go to YouTube, you'll find these organizations, these teachers, and they're lovely. And that's why they're popular. But that's not systematic. And without the system, one can't go to the highest or the deepest. Imagine you have all of these great puzzle pieces, but you don't know how to put them together. The puzzle piece is beautiful. Look at the colors. Look at the shapes. But there's much more than that puzzle piece. Take all that we've experienced thus far seriously. This is the only way not to be serious. This is all wonderful. But still, we feel this is difficult. And now Prince Arjuna verbalizes this for us in verse 33. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudhana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat stiram. Chanchalatvat stitam stiram. That's ringing in our heads. Prince Arjuna responds to Shri Krishna. Yaha ayam yogaha tvaya proktaha. This yoga which you have taught. The yoga here is specifically dhyana yoga. Verses 10 to 32. Samyena Madhusudana. Madhusudana is another name for Shri Krishna. You have taught this samyena with great vision. And this yoga is one of vision, where one is balanced and even. So he's offering his respect to Shri Krishna. You've taught this in a solid way, and your teaching is about being solid. Etasyaham na pashyami. I don't see this, though. I don't see this for myself. And this week I used the word to deflect. We feel all of this is for someone who's not living in a home with a family with responsibilities. We project this, that all of this applies when you retire, when you have your Shashti Purti, your 60th birthday. Chanchalatvat stitam stiram. I cannot be steady, sincere, strong. This morning I've used the word, I cannot follow the system because chanchalatvat, I am restless. My lifestyle is restless. My room is restless. I am restless. Whether it's my outer world or inner world or in-between world, all restless. Does this sound like someone you know? This is version April 2nd, 2022. Now, one unique quality of Prince Arjuna that may be different than us. In this expression, he is not complaining, he is not blaming, and he is not annotating. He is not. That's why I told you, Prince Arjuna is respectfully speaking to Shri Krishna. That means he's actively listening. He's actively learning. In chapter 4, verse 34, I told you that's one of the most important verses of Bhagavad Gita. The methodology to feel joy, part of that methodology is pariprashnena. Pariprashnena, which means you have reflected on the message and now you have a question. For the typical person, they have a question and then they reflect. But pariprashnena means you have a question, you reflect, then you share that question. He has reflected on all that Shri Krishna has shared. And that's why when the answer comes, what to do about this restlessness, Prince Arjuna will be ready. He'll be ready to receive this. From lifestyle to room to himself. He will share more in the coming verses. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Oh. Oh. Appreciate, relax, enjoy, chant, inquire. The outermost covering of our center, the sixth sheath, is our lifestyle. Appreciate. We go deeper from an experience to the equipments. The fifth sheath, body. Relax. The fourth sheath, breath. Enjoy. Third covering, mind. Chant. Second covering, intellect. Inquire. Body, breath, mind, intellect are equipments. Dhyana, philosophically, is contemplation. Practically, is identification. Purification is identifying with our lifestyle and then disidentifying from it. Preparation is identifying with our equipments and then disidentifying from them. Process. There is only one step, one practice, one sadhana, that is dhyana, contemplation. And that is identifying intensely, wholly, completely, not with the experiences or equipment, but that facet of our world that uses the equipment to create experiences, that is the ego. The first kosha covering on our center is the ego. The ego is unique. The ego is extraordinary. The ego is incomparable. It is not an equipment. It is not an experience. It is not an entity like an article or circumstance or being. The ego is the ego. Identify with this. Feel this. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.